G'day everyone, thought I'd pop in and have a frequently asked questions with you guys. I'm going to give this a few minutes basically to let everyone log on because I've only basically gave, about 4 minutes notice for everyone to pop on board, and all really wanted to do, I'm going to have a quick chat about the workshop that I had yesterday, and then you can fire away with any questions at all that you'd like me to answer. I thought I might do this probably on Monday mornings, might be a good time to do this, and I know it's still Sunday if you're dealing in the US and also in the UK, but if you're over in Australia, obviously the weekend's over, we can all chat about what we're doing on the weekend, what shoots we're doing. Just let me close this so we can check who's on the chat. Where are we? So Oreo's just popped in, Charles is here as well. Greetings from the other side of the earth. Richard's also here, and like I said, Oreo is also here, so say hi guys if you are popping in. I'm just having a coffee, it's too cold this morning, it's actually quite chilly this morning. Jose's here as well, Vic's here as well, Rez is also here, good morning. Like I said, I'm going to give this a couple of minutes and then we can all fire away. G'day Ben, how you going? How did you pull up last night? Ben was also at the workshop yesterday as well. Oh, having a good coffee. I'll probably have a bit of time with you guys and then I'll head down the street for a coffee in my American accent, as I say, as well. So just to let you know, yesterday we had an amazing workshop and I'm going to show you a couple of images from that, just behind the scenes. I am going to probably get onto the video today as well. Let me just move that over just so you can see me a bit better. Who else is in here? Amy's here. Alex is here, Jay's here as well. Monday, well it's Monday here in Australia, Jay. Palatira is also here, Rui's here, Kevin is here, and Jean is also here. So a few people are starting to make it. I notice there's quite a few now. Guys, if you can, please give me a thumbs up. It just helps people see that aren't actually on here. Who else have we got? Kevin, Ben, tired. Probably tired after last night's shoot. Carol saying hi from Los Angeles. Hi Carol, how are you? Good to see you in here. Todd, hello David. Need yours or someone's recommendation on a tablet that will display JPEG from a Sony A7 III as they are taken. Is there anything out there that can do this? I'm not sure. I know Canon use it wirelessly quite well to an iPad. I'm not sure if the any others that I know work, and you might find someone in here can talk about that because I never do. I never shoot tethered, so I can't really help you on that. So I'm not sure how it goes doing the A7 III or whatever to an iPad. So someone else may be able to help you, but I don't do it though, so I can't help you with that question. But let's see if someone else can answer. Now, if they can't, hopefully someone in the question down below later on may be able to help you answer that, Todd. Diogo doesn't need to be warm to drink a beer. I know, I do, like I used to love having the beers with you guys. I'm going to start doing that again, but I'm probably going to wait until at least it warms up a little bit because it is early here now. And also, because the time zones changed, you know, we lost an hour, it makes it even an hour earlier. Ultimate Climbing, hi from Canada, good to see you here. Jay said, oh my God, David has discovered time travel. Have the zombies already taken over? Do we have a chance to stop it? I love it. Yeah, we're in the future here. You know that. Aussies are in the future from you guys. You guys are living in the past. Reza said, yesterday was a very good workshop. Thanks, Reza. Glad you enjoyed it. I was just looking at the footage. I'm going to post a video review of that, so you'll see that soon. And others will be posting images as well in the channel. And I'll bring that up in a minute so we can all have a chat about that. Panda's here as well. Carl's here. Chris is here from California. Get a Cam Ranger, Ben's saying. Chris said, hi from California, having a Miller Lite. Oh, that'd be nice. That'd be lovely, Chris. I know I will be joining drinks for you guys again, but once the time zones change again and it gets a bit warmer. Todd said, thanks, David, wireless rather than tethered. Yeah, I'm not sure, Todd. So it'll be interesting to see if that can be done because it does sort of interest me. I went to a workshop, I'm going to show that on video soon, of Yervant. Yervant's an amazing wedding photographer. I went for a workshop with him and he tethered his Canon to an iPad. So I know it's possible with a Canon. I'm just not sure how you go about doing it with a Sony camera, so we'll have to work that out. What else have we said? Palantir said the Play Memories app does work with the A7 III. I haven't tried it with the tablet though, but it still should work. Yeah, that may work. I mean, it does show the image, doesn't it? The one that Yervant showed that he did, it came up basically looking like Lightroom, and then you could click on the image and it became really big inside there. So I'm not sure if it's possible. We'll have to work that out. Oreo said, I don't know if it's possible to shoot tethered to a tablet. I do shoot to my laptop, yeah, and that's a lot easier. But as far as tablets go, I've only been able to send a picture via Play Memories app, no real time, yeah, and I think that's the issue. I think you do need a wireless module that's fully built for that. You probably could do it with the A9, but it would have to be connected, because if you had the A9, you've got the... no, that doesn't even work tethered, I don't think. Yeah, no, I don't think you can. Anyway, let me have a look, because I want to show you this. A couple of images from yesterday's workshop. Look, it's only a sneak sort of peek behind. Please join this group if you haven't, the photography videography group. And this is where we share all different things that, you know, go on with basically this YouTube channel. So if you haven't joined it, please join it. I noticed Kerry put some of her iPhone this morning on there. Let me just move this over so we can... Oh, I've got to just make sure I grab the right one. I noticed Kerry shared quite a few images this morning. This was early in the day. We actually had quite a good turn-up, actually. But let's scroll through some of these images and have a look, basically, at what we did. Kiara was obviously there. That's Kiara's mum, actually, that was next to Kiara in that image. She assisted as well. She loves photography as well, so she assisted on the day. You can see all the guys here. I'm standing back. The thing, too, that I do love to do with these type of workshops, you've got to remember, too, that I did come from a teaching background. So, like, I did actually teach at university for over 20 years. So I have taught for a very long time at a university level. And also a high school level as well. And then obviously I've now gone back to photography again. Before that, I mean, I actually did teach fashion and stuff like that. I did an apprenticeship in that area, and we used to use photography there. That's where I learnt my original skills from. So I have got a very extensive teaching background. So I really enjoyed yesterday the teaching, to get back to that type of, you know, workshop. And it really did bring that teacher aspect back out with me. And I found, to be honest, sometimes the big difference between the way that I work and because I am a full-on educator is that I will give a demo of something and then I'll move out the way and everyone shoot it. And you can see here what's happened. If you look at this image here, Kiara is over to here where they're all shooting. I've moved right back and I'm still shooting, but I've moved way back, and I'll make sure that everyone can get their images. And I've found that sometimes when you go to these workshops, it ends up being all about the presenter, and they'll basically treat the workshop like it's one of their normal shoots. And I don't think that's a really good way of going about shoots if you're in training, because really, it should not be about you trying to get the images. I did make sure that I got enough images that I could post the video, but it was more about giving the people that were there for the day the chance to take photos without me basically being in control. So I sort of set things up, took a few photos, and then I stepped right back and then let them just shoot away. And that's more the educator side from me. And I know a lot of people that are doing workshops and stuff like that don't do that. It seems to be more about their personal portfolio than the people that you're actually that are actually paying for the workshop. And I think that's very wrong. But that's because I did come from a training background, and it's very strong in my thinking. So, you know, that's something really interesting. But I really did enjoy it, and it's been ages since I've done one of these, and this has made me realise that I want to get back to this, and I'm actually going to start offering workshops again. Yesterday was a workshop that I gave people for just saying thank you for being up to 10,000 subscribers, and I will do these every so often, where you know, I'll just do ones for free. But I am also going to start offering tailored packages for workshops where I'll be teaching things like off-camera flash and all that sort of stuff, because I just had a ball doing it and I loved it. So I think I am going to get back to that again because I do miss it. And I remember I'm not bringing that out of the blue. I have had 20 odd years teaching in university level. But let's get back to having a look at a few of these images so you can check out what we actually did. You can see Kiara's sitting on this desk here. That's where I was taking shots. And then in the other one, like I said, I've stepped back and then everyone else is moving around taking shots. These are just iPhone photos that Kerry has actually posted. Here, I'm just giving her some details here about what I wanted her to do. You can see my soldier stance, my ninja stance. I love it. All the guys wanted me to get down with Kiara over there, and they were all snapping away with having pictures of me and Kiara sort of at this lane. We had a lot of fun down there. It was great fun, actually. And you can see here that I'm showing everyone how to use this white background as a reflector, and I've got an ice light actually in my hand and taking shots, and you can sort of see everyone watching what I'm doing and then taking images away. Again, this was another area where we're all taking shots. You can see that I've moved out basically here. I'm actually behind and I've allowed all the other people to get in front. You can see Karen, Kiara's mum there, lighting Kiara up with the ice light there. This was another shot that I love that is sort of showing it where everyone's sort of firing away. We just had a ball. It was so much fun. I think Kiara had a ball as well. This was another section we were working. Again, this is another one where everyone's firing away with shots. And this is where we went down and did some smoke down this laneway as well. There, and you can sort of see everyone firing around here too. So we had a ball. And I think, let me just come down here, I'll show you a couple of others if I can find some. This was another one that Jeff posted, Jeff Bayers. Again, he was taking some shots of me, which was quite funny. This was Kiara coming down. So we had a great setup. It was so much fun walking down and doing things. I was explaining, you know, how she moves and how to set lighting up and how to pose and all that sort of stuff. And then basically we just shot away, but had an absolute ball in the workshop. So yeah, it's definitely made me think that I want to get back to it again. Yeah, so just thought I'd bring that up and show you what we did. So stay tuned because I will be offering some of those workshops. Now, my intention is actually to offer some obviously here in Australia, but I'm also going to offer the same type of thing for you guys overseas as well. So there will be things too that we can work out. And I'm hoping that I can actually get to the stage where obviously, because these will be paid workshops, that I could bring Kiara out with me and we can do it as a team. So you'll be able to basically learn from me and actually photograph Kiara. So let me know what you think about that in the comments, because I'd really be interested to know if that would be something that you would be interested in doing. But let's get back to some questions anyway, because this is question and answer Monday. Oh, now before we do that, let me just show you this. I went to Comic-Con on Saturday. And honestly, the A7 III with the 55mm is insane. Let me show you these two pics that I actually took there. Now, this was shot 1,250th of a second at f2.8, and it's ISO 100, and it's the 55mm lens, you know, and it's just, honestly, that lens is just insanely sharp. It really is incredibly sharp, but check out the colors and just everything about this, you know, like, check, it's just a fantastic setup. This camera with the 55 on it, that beautiful little lens there, this is on the A9, no, this is the A7 III, yeah. I used this yesterday solely for the shoot that you'll see in the video from the workshop, but this lens is so ridiculously sharp and it's tiny. I love it. I really am falling in love with it again. But like I said, just, you know, check out these couple of images. Like, how good are they, you know? Like, if it's just that tack sharp, it's crazy. The color rendering is beautiful, really bright and colorful. And the funny thing was, the Spider-Man that I shot here contacted me because he saw the video that I posted on YouTube yesterday. And he contacted me to say that he was the Spider-Man. So I've now sent him these images. And that was really funny that he actually contacted me. He found me online and he watched that video on YouTube that I put on from Comic-Con. But how beautiful is that camera and that rendering that you actually get from it? This was really quite heavily backlit from the side. Nail focus, and the contrast and everything is beautiful. But just thought I'd show you that anyway. Anyway, let's get back to some questions. So fire away, guys, if you have got any questions, because I'd love to know if you want anything answered at all. So let's keep going down. Oreo said, oh, hang on, let's go back. I've got more back this way. I jumped too far down. Carol said, I have downloaded photos from my A6 500 on my iPad using the Play Memories app. How can you view them though, Carol? You can't sort of view them as they're being shot though, can you? Sort of straight away in full screen? Let me know, because I'd be curious to know. We're talking about if you can tether to an iPad using an A7 III camera. Amy said, my computer can't even recognize images from my A7 III. I have uploaded them to Lightroom. Could you tether to your tablet and have Lightroom mobile on the tablet? Not sure. And this is the thing. Like I said, I don't tether at all. I used to years ago when I did fashion in studio and stuff. That was always tethered, of course. But I just don't tether anymore at all. So others may be able to help in this chat, because I'd be really curious to know as well. I know that's one thing where Sony haven't been anywhere near as good. See, I used to use Nikon in those days, and it tethered really well. But I know the Canon tethers wirelessly really well, but I'm not sure about how it goes with the Sony camera. Now, what we're saying is we want it to be shooting wirelessly and just going straight to an iPad and show up as you shoot on the iPad. Is it possible? So let us know in the chat if anyone's done it. The Panda said it's not possible at this time to tether to a tablet. Yeah, that's what I thought. Carol said, I have downloaded photos to my iPhone using my Play Memories app and edited on Lightroom. Yeah, it's a slow process, I think, though, Carol. It's not like where you just take the photo immediately and it shows up. I think that's what we're saying we would like. ZIZ from India says, having a Canon wife, soon I will be having a Sony as my girlfriend. What is your suggestion, please? By the way, I love to do video. Well, the A7 III is the one if you're talking about weddings and events. Definitely. That's by far, I think, the best wedding camera that's out there at the moment. Don't listen to anything that the angry person talks about. It's a complete load of rubbish. If you looked at his review, definitely get the A7 III. Todd said, Carol, right, but I was thinking wireless, not tethered. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. And Carol's saying she does do them wireless, but I don't think they can show up immediately. Evan said, hi, David, any beginner's tips on posing models for portrait shoots? I might do a video on that, Evan. I may do a video with that with Kiara, sort of working with that. If you notice, Kiara now, she's getting way better, much, much better than when we first started out. So she's definitely learning as we're going on. But yeah, I may do something like that with a video to show you guys soon. It might be something that I can possibly do soon. Now, there are some things that can help, and I've got them. I've just got to find where it is on my phone. There is a great app. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. I did talk about it in another video one other time. Let me just see if I can quickly find it for you, because there are some great apps that you can use. I'm not going to be able to find it. I might have to see if I can put it into the comments. If I find it, I'll show you. No, I'm not sure where it is. There are some great apps that you can download that help with posing as well. But to be honest, I found that one of the best things that you can ever do if you're dealing with models, if you've never dealt before and you are very, very uncomfortable, obviously you can do workshops to sort of help you with that. But one of the best things you can do is hire a model. And when I say hire a model, is hire a good model. I know it might cost you $100 or whatever, or even a little bit more, but working with a good model, if you're honest with her, you'll learn that much more about how models pose and things like that with working with someone like that and actually helping them with your posing, because they will do it instinctively, basically, and you'll be able to watch how they move, how they, that they'll move subtly between each shot, things like that, and that can be one great way of working. The problem sometimes, if you just do the workshop on posing, it's really hard because that person sets that up for you, and then you take the shot and you're not really taking control. But I really recommend, honestly, hiring a really good model, and that will help you more than anything. But apart from that, your best bet really is to do workshops in that. And like I said, I'm going to start doing workshops too, but you know, you can only sort of follow those a lot if you were here. Like I said, I will do some overseas though. But I might do a video on that to help you guys soon. Alan said, sorry, a bit off topic. Any suggestions on stop motion programs? No, I don't do it, Alan, at all. Someone else may be able to chime in and help with that. I've never done it, never been interested in it, so it'll be interesting to see if someone else can help with that. Joris said, I know that it's got stop motion in the Sony cameras though. I haven't got the camera here. You can get stop motion in the early, like the A6500, the A7 IIs, the A7R2. There's actually a Play Memories app that will do stop motion for you. Joris is saying, good evening. G'day, Joris. Yeah, Carol's saying, sorry, I should have read your full message. Yeah, you can't do what we were talking about with that before. Even said also, favourite portrait lens. Favourite portrait lens for me is definitely still the 85 1.8, the Batis. The Sony 85 is just as good, really. Very, very similar. I think the Batis just has a little bit better of that Zeiss pop that you get from the Batis lenses, but they're both really fantastic lenses. Obviously, you can go for the GM version if you want to get the 1.4, and now there is also Sigma coming along, there's Samyang, there's so many different lenses, but definitely for me personally, the best portrait lens that I will use is the 35 1.8. The 55 though is pretty good, but I do like the 85 rendering a little bit better for portraits. So I hope that helps. What else have we got? Oreo said, great reportage by Kerry. Yeah, it was. She always sort of is working behind the scenes, Oreo. Jean said, not sure if it's any good, but quick Google search came out with Camfire. That's what Ben said. Does it work with Sony cameras though, Ben? That Camfire? I don't know. Because Ben mentioned that earlier. It's got an app for mobile devices. Again, haven't really tested it. Yeah, it could be. I don't know. I haven't used that. Chris said, can shooting the sun burn your sensor? Yes, definitely. I wouldn't do it. I definitely would not do it because it can. Even said, thanks for answering questions. No worries. Jay said, ever use the 12 to 24? I need a YM zoom. And no, the 16 to 35 is pristine, but I don't want to pay the price. Yes, the 12 to 24 is actually really good. I haven't got that, but I did use it for quite a long time in the camera store and took it out and played it. They usually let me walk out and use it for a while. Yeah, it's great. That's a really nice lens. So if that's the sort of focal range that you'd like to go, can't go wrong with it. Todd said, would love to see your photography business series continue. I will get back to that, Todd. I just haven't had time really, but I will definitely get back to that because there's so much more that I'd like to discuss on that business. It'll definitely come back. James said, I have an annoying thing going on with the A7 III and Lightroom. Every time I import in, all the photos are always darker than what I took them. Any thoughts? That's because it's reading the JPEG, James. Remember, when you're looking on the camera on your when you're taking the image, it's reading the JPEG header. That's what happens in the JPEG side of things. When you're coming into Lightroom, it's reading the RAW file. And that's the problem that you're probably actually seeing there, that's what's happening. I don't really notice that it goes much darker though, so that's interesting that it is doing that for you, but it's definitely only the header side of things that's causing the issue. You can go through on your screen and adjust settings and things like that. If you think that it's not matching, you may have to adjust your brightness under your camera settings to make it look like it will in RAW. That's one way that you can balance it so that they look basically the same. I'd probably think about looking at that aspect to try and balance the two out. Joris said, I watched the first part of the A7 III review by the Angry Photographer and all his rantings about the problems, slave labour. He should focus more on the final results instead of the gear, perhaps. Yeah, I think the problem is that was just after hits, that review. It was ridiculous. I didn't really agree with much at all of what he said. When you're comparing noise, and look, I've got nothing against Fuji. They're fantastic cameras. You cannot compare the noise on a Fuji camera the XT1s or XT2, whatever, XH1 to an A7 III. There's no way you can ever compare those two cameras together for ISO noise. And the things that he was saying were just ridiculous, honestly. Look, he's got a thing against Sony, and that's the thing. He hired that camera just to justify him bagging it. He had an agenda before he even took that camera in. Everything he said was complete rubbish. Talking about ergonomics. Look, if you're in business, if you're in this for business, honestly, there is nothing wrong with holding a Sony camera. I would not want to hold that massive XH1 or whatever it is, that brick camera. Now, if you want to do that, that's fantastic. But reviewing a camera to say that it's no good because of the ergonomics is a complete load of crap. And to be honest, at the end of the day, I'm dealing with what my client wants. All I care about is the end result. And the ergonomics for me on the Sony cameras are fine. They're perfectly good enough. The menus are perfectly good enough once you get to know them. All those issues are mute. Look, the thing is, all I care about is if the image is good enough that I get out of it at the end, because that's what matters for my business. I just want to care about if the client is happy with that image. Do you think that the client cares about the ergonomics of the camera? No. And to be honest, I can probably get far more images with a camera this side because it's easier for me to handle than lugging around some massive digital SLR, but that's for me. But I'm still not going to bag digital SLRs like what he's just done against Sony. He just has an agenda against Sony. He hates Sony. I don't know if he even hates them. I think he just likes to get hits out of it because he probably finds that it gives him more views. Just ignore him. Look, seriously, I like watching him because I find him quite funny. And I just ignore his comments about when he does those sort of things. But, you know, I think the happy photographer is going to have to make a return soon to address these issues, I think. But, yeah, just ignore him. Don't. Just take it with, you know, like a grain of salt, just flick it away, because honestly, he's just after hits, I'm sure of it. Joris said, I watched the first part, oh, that's what I just read. Random said, my A6500 connects to my iPad using Wi-Fi setup and does instantly send the photos wirelessly. They JPEG and not the highest quality. Yeah, it'd be interesting to see how good they were, though, to look at. We'll have to I might try that one day. Panda said, I use Dragon Frame for stop motion. Okay, so that's Dragon Frame. Excuse me. Escape said, I haven't tried it personally, but supposedly using Capture Pilot with Capture One Pro works well. Okay. You still need a laptop computer running C1, of course. Steve's here. G'day, Steve. Todd said, checked Camfi on Amazon, didn't see any Sony cameras listed. Yeah, I don't think it's possible, Todd. I just don't think it is. Ben said Cam Ranger will work wirelessly to see your images, but the images will not be stored on your SD or on the iPad. Yeah, but will it show Sony images, Ben? Just curious to know. Because if it would show them on there, that's all I'd be happy with. At least you could hold an iPad up and people could see them as you were shooting them. But I don't know if it will work with Sony. MBW said, any thoughts on the A6700 possibilities? Look, you're not going to see that. I don't think you're going to see that camera till at least Photokina, but I think the next camera that's going to be announced is going to be the A7 III, and I think that will probably be Photokina. I think that's the one that they have to bring out first. Now that the RX 100 Mark V is, the new version 1V has been announced, or 6, I don't think they would bring out an A6700, possibly because that could take sales away. If you know, they can do some similar things, so I don't think so. Oh, now having talked about that, I just wanted to mention something too, just to let you know that I used the RX 100V at the Comic-Con that I went to on the weekend. And check that video out because you'll sort of see the results that I had. It was one I just posted a couple of videos back. I wanted to try how it worked handheld, and it was actually really good. But the main thing I found was it really has justified my thinking about me keeping that camera rather than taking it back and getting the new one, because I was shooting indoors and I also went outside to shoot like the Spider-Man and stuff like that. I wanted to do some video of that, and you'll see that video in there. But immediately when I went outside and I was trying to use double the frame rate, so I was trying to shoot at 1/50th because I was shooting at 24. Immediately when I went outside, I had to up the shutter rate to around about 2000 to bring the exposure back down. Now that was even playing around with apertures. I just couldn't get it back down enough to work. And then I remembered I had the ND filter, and I clicked the ND on, and immediately I could take it back down to the 1/50th of a second, and it worked perfectly. And that immediately made me realize how beneficial it is to have that ND filter built into that camera. It is amazing. And last night we were out we had a bit of a dinner after the workshop, and again I could open that camera up to 1.8 and take shots in such low light conditions like that was in this dark alleyway where we were having dinner. And again, it's justified my thinking. I really think those two cameras shouldn't be competing against each other. I think they both have really big benefits depending on whether you'd like the long zoom or if you'd like the low light and the ND. You really almost need both of them, and it's an interesting thing that Sony have done here, that it would really make you think that you need both. But I just thought I'd mention that because it really has justified my thinking about keeping that the version 5 instead of going to the version 6. So the A6-700, I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see that this year. I really wouldn't be surprised. I think Photokina is going to announce the A7S III, but we'll have to wait and see. I'm hanging out for that though too. Sam said, "Hi David, finally got my A7 III. It's a great camera. I have adapted the Canon glass, but I will end up selling my Canon glass because I want to shoot video, and the focus for adapted glass is not good." Yeah, and that's the problem. Look, it's great for stills. It's just not good enough for video, and I agree with that totally, and I think that's a good thing to do. You definitely, if you're shooting video, you need to be on native glass. Jake said, "Recommendations on first lens for the A7 III." Well, tell us down below, Jake, what you shoot, because that's more important, and I'll answer that question for you. Alan said, "Thanks. The photography, that's for talking about stop motion." Saying, "Love these videos. Thanks a lot." Yeah, Oreo said, "Time to bring the happy photographer back." Yeah, I know. Hope you like pics. Said, "Hi David, I'm so impressed with my Sony A7 III. I took back the 24-240 and got the Sony 85 and the Tamron 28-75. Yeah, you're gonna love it. So with my MC11 and Canon 70-200, I think I'm good now to go." Yep, you will be. Oh, someone just donated money. Oh, thanks, Jay. Thank you. The Happy Photographer Fund. I love it. Where are we? What lens would you recommend for doing video? Well, I can tell you what I've been using nearly all the time. I've been using this lens. That's been my favourite lens for shooting video. Honestly, I've been having an absolute ball. I used this yesterday though. So I did use this when I did the video yesterday. So it was the 35 f2.8. So if you need a little bit wider, this is also fantastic. These are also great too because you can stick these on gimbal. See, this is the great part about this. You can have the 55 on a gimbal, and you can also have the 2.8 on a gimbal, which is really small. The 55 is really good. Like I think the focus, I think, on the 55 is still the fastest focusing lens that I've used. Even video, it's superb. This is also really good though, but you know, check out the size, like it's so tiny. I love this lens as well if you need a little bit wider, but I do like sometimes shooting at 1.8, and that's where I love this one, the 55. So for me personally, I can almost get by with using just those two lenses. So if you're dealing with video for me, I really do like the 55 and the 35 2.8, but also I think another fantastic lens as well is the Tamron 28-75. That's a brilliant lens for video. Check out Kiara's that I posted at the Werribee Mansion. Check out that because it's stunning, and that is also really light, and that may tempt me somewhere down the line to get that for video. I really would like to have that lens for video because it's super fast focusing. You've got the 2.8, and you can put that on a gimbal because it's only 550 grams, so it's easily good enough to use for that. Let's have a look. Jay said, "Isn't a photographer?" What else have we got? Ultimate Climbing said, we don't have a lot of brick walls to test our Sonys here in Canada. All vinyl sliding work for those tests. I love it. Happy Photographer, let's get some t-shirts. Carol said, I use the A7 III with the 2470 GM with on-camera flash, and it wouldn't focus when the subject were heavily backlit. And some of my photos of people came out looking pretty soft. Yeah, it can be a challenge if it's really heavily backlit. Sometimes you even have to go manual focus, Carol. I've found it's pretty good now, to be honest. Like, it must have been really heavily backlit, but that probably is related to that lens. I have not used that. I've used that lens quite a bit in testing, but I haven't used it in heavily backlit scenarios. I can tell you with the lenses that I use, which is the 35 1.4 and the 85 Batis, I really haven't noticed where things have been backlit that I couldn't focus. So it probably is that lens. Someone else may be able to chime in with that's got that lens, and if they've had a similar situation, because I'd really like to know if that's a case that you've had that problem with the GM 2470. So let me know anyone else that's got that in the live chat, because I'd just be curious to know. I hope you like Pic said, what do you do to download RAW to Lightroom? I just do the standard. I don't do anything. I just do it as its standard default, because I just leave everything basically standard when it comes in. There's no profiles or anything loaded or anything like that, and then I'll just edit it from there. I may show that one day, but I don't change anything. Thanks, Jay, for the Happy Photographer Fund. I love it. So Mr. YouTuber says, hello all. Hi, David, just joined in. So what did I miss? Oh, we just go through a Q&A, and I've just showed a little bit about the workshop that I did as well. So I've showed that, and I talked about setting up some workshops that I might start doing, and whether you'd be interested in having that with me. Even said, totally agree on the adapted Canon glass. I have Canon L series lenses. Though work for 2470 and 7200, yep. And honestly, the video, the focusing for video is just garbage, yeah. And that's what my testing has shown too. Fantastic for stills. Still not as good as Sony lenses, but it's good enough. The second you go over to video though, yeah, it's not good. And I wouldn't be using it. So it is really an issue if you are dealing with adapted lenses on video. If you're shooting video, I seriously would not recommend using adaptive glass. You should be using native glass. Oh, thank you so much, Alan. I really appreciate that donation. Thank you so much. Jane said, I guess between the 55 1.8, the 85 1.8, or the 70-200 f4. Oh, okay. So if you were shooting between all of those and you were shooting portraits, I'd get the 85. Personally, I do love the 70-200 f4. I use that all the time, but it could be a little bit slow if you're dealing in low light scenarios, Jake. So I think if I had to choose one of those lenses, I'd choose the 85. But only one lens is not going to work, because remember, you would have to have a wider lens if you want to go wider, which is where I'd use the 35 1.4. If I need something longer than that, yeah, I'd then start to use the 70-200, or I'm dying to try out the Sigma lenses when they're released, something like the 105 f1.4 or the 135. James said, I've actually fallen in love with the Zeiss Loxia 50 f2, and I don't blame you. That would be a gorgeous lens. It would be stunning to use that lens. I haven't used that lens actually, but I know the Loxia stuff is beautiful. Jason said low budget Sony lenses. Well, you can't beat the Sony 85, Jason, for low budget lenses. And don't forget too that's not an expensive lens. The Sony 35 f2.8 is not expensive. You can also get a Samyang version of that as well if you want to keep down. So there's quite a lot now of Samyang coming along. The Tamron 28-75 is also a fantastic lens if you like that 28-75 focal length, and it's f2.8. That's another brilliant lens as well. And we're going to get more and more of these type lenses coming out. You're starting to get Sigma coming on now. So there's so much now. But if you're really after really low budget Sony lenses, I think that you can't beat the 85 1.8. That's probably the better one out there. And the 35 f2.8 also is a really nice lens as well. Mario is here as well. Hi Mario, how are you? Good to see you here. Oreo said, I shoot a lot of backlight portraits. I've never had focus problems with my lenses. Yeah, and I'm the same, Oreo. I don't either. I think it may be perhaps then it could be that 24-70 lens. Let's see if someone else has that 24-70 to see if they think there's an issue with that lens, particularly with backlit, or whether it's just that case. It'll be interesting to know. I really am amazed with how good backlighting is now with the A7 III and the A9. It definitely struggles a bit with the A7R II though, so they have made big strides with improving the cameras as we've gone on with time. Really appreciate a thumbs up too, guys, if you give me one. I really would appreciate that. Alan gave me a donation. Thanks so much, Alan. Mirrorless said, any word no on the A6700? I just discussed that before. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't see that this year. I think the A7S III is going to be the next camera announced at Photokina. That's what I just am thinking now. I can't see them announcing the A6700 and the A7S III at the same time, because they probably could take sales away from each other. So I think it wouldn't be a good marketing move. And now that the A7 III is selling so well and they can't even keep up with demand, that's why I think there'll still be a wait for the A7S III. I think Photokina probably would be about the perfect time by then. Sony probably would have caught up with all their orders for the A7 III by then. And then it's a perfect time to release something like the A7S III. And then after that has settled down, I think then you might see an A6700. That's just my feelings about what will happen though. Any thoughts on the Batis 18? That'd be a beautiful lens, Scott, for video. It'd be a stunning lens for video. Cody said, do you have Sony Pro Support? Have you used them? Oh, yes. Look, Sony Pro Support is amazing. Now, I can only talk to you about Australian Sony Pro Support, Cody. It's brilliant here in Australia, and I think the US may work the same. I've used it a number of times. You can even send your camera off for cleaning if you like. I contact them online. Within an hour or so, I'll get a message back from them to say that I can just phone up to organise a courier. I'll phone up to organise a courier. They'll pick the camera up that day. It's sent to another state, actually, in South Australia here to be fixed. It's sent to another camera supplier to be fixed, and they will let me know, basically, then how long it's going to take to fix. If it's going to be more than a few days, they'll send me a replacement camera or lens or whatever I need. On average, though, it's always turned around within a few days and it gets sent back to me. I honestly cannot state to you how good the service is here in Australia. They contacted me straight after the A9 has had the issue with the flash hot shoe, and I've still got to send that in actually, but they did contact me. They rang me to say that there's a problem with the hot shoe. Do I want to send it in to get fixed? And at the time it was wedding season. I said, no, look, wait. I'll wait and I'll get it done. And I should actually think about sending that in to get that replaced. So no, Sony Pro Support has been fantastic. It's amazing here in Australia. So if you guys overseas have the same system, brilliant. Again, don't listen to trolls that talk about it being a bad system. I don't think it is anymore. Which adapter would you use for Canon lenses? I like the MC11. I think that's the best one that I've used, but Metabone is also good, but I've always found I prefer the MC11 adapter, but others may chime in with a different response to that, because I don't shoot with adapted, I've only tested with it. Hope you like Pick said, do you think Tamron will come out with a 70-200? Yep, definitely. It's only a matter of time. I think that probably will be the next lens that they release, and I can't wait because I wouldn't mind that. So it's interesting. So I'll wait and see how that is. If that is the same as the Tamron 28-75, it'll be brilliant. That sharpness on that lens was nuts. And if you look at the reviews, in the center, that lens is probably better than the G Master. And you're thinking about the price that you're paying for that. Yes, it's a little bit softer on the edges, but if you're dealing with portraits and you're just using more of that center part of the frame, what a brilliant lens. It's also, I think, faster focusing than what the G Master is, and there's reviews about that out there that talk about that. It's faster focusing than the G Master for video. I think if you're dealing with normal focus, the G Master probably will be a little bit better. But for the price that you're paying for that lens, honestly, it's brilliant. So if they put the same system in for the 70-200, that will be a great lens. I really hated handing mine back, actually, the 28-75. I actually asked her if I could buy it, but they wouldn't let me. What else have we got? Jay Lee said, how does the Samyang 35 2.8 work? It's a pretty good lens, Jay. I've only used it in the store and it was quite good. To be honest, I still think I preferred the Sony lens. I still think it worked a little bit faster. But no, it seemed to work fantastic. And if you're after paying a lot less money, there's nothing wrong with the Samyang 35 2.8. I never tried it in video though, so you've just got to watch. Some of those lenses, the Samyang ones particularly, can be a little bit noisy in video. So you'd have to check that out to make sure it works okay. I only did it for stills. Xyunghua, I think. I can't pronounce that name. Sorry if I said it wrong. I'm thinking of getting the Tamron 28-75 f2.8 or 2470 GM for my A7 III. I can't afford the extra $1,496, but the size and weight is really an issue. Honestly, depending on what you shoot, unless you're shooting landscape where you need that sharpness all across, I'd get the Tamron. And then even then, I'd probably still honestly get the Tamron and buy, with the money you're saving, a great wide-angle lens. That's what I'd be getting if it was me personally. I honestly think the 2470 GM is overpriced now after what Tamron have bought out. But that's just what I think. You may disagree. Which combination do you think is the better for amateur photography? Definitely get the Tamron one. Definitely. I definitely wouldn't get the GM. So using the A7R III, same thing, it won't matter. What else have we got? Carl said, shooting video in S-Log, why does it restrict lowest ISO to 800? Not sure the reasoning for it. It just has something to do with the way that the sensor works. Any of these ones that shoot in ISO end up having to push the... in the log profiles, and someone else may be able to answer this, but I believe on all of the logs you have to expand that dynamic range so much that it needs to push ISO up to get the most dynamic range out of the sensor. It's one of the reasons why I don't shoot log and I'll just shoot the standard profile because I just don't like to start to push ISO up. It's still not an issue much with the newest cameras, but these are just the things that I like to actually do. And it's another reason why I'll choose the profiles in their gamma logs and stuff like that instead of going to the S-log profiles. I actually like to tend to go into, I don't know whether I've set these up, but I'll just tell you, I actually like to go into, I'm just going to bring this up and show you which profile I do like to shoot in for video. Because it's interesting. I should do one on it just for video now. I did do one ages ago talking about it. That still hasn't changed. But I'll tell you, and I'll go through it all just so that you can see. Let me just bring up all the things. I'm always on the standard at the moment. Let me go to movie. So I'm always using gamma, I think. I'm just trying to find where they are in here. I'm going to the A9. Oh, here we go. File format. Oh, no, that's file format. I might put it down on the bottom. I might link you the video where I talked about it because I don't know where they are. Yeah, I'm on creative style and I'm on standard. I keep them, I'll tell you exactly the settings that I use. I have contrast. Now I normally shoot just completely standard 0, 0, 0, but if I do have issues, I'll put them down at 2, 2 and 2 for contrast, saturation and sharpness. So I actually like to push those down a little bit. I very rarely am using log profiles. I don't really like to look, let me check just on this one, but I very rarely am using log profiles at all because of the issues with grading, also issues with things like the ISO that you're seeing as well. So it's just things that I try and avoid, and you know, let me just come down here and just see. So if we're looking at picture profiles, I tend to like the gamma is movie. Now let me go to the other one because I'll tell you exactly. I'm rambling on a bit here because I should bring it up and show you. I'll show you the exact one I like using. So I'm using PP2. Now if you use Sign 4, it brings the ISO down to 200. So that's the one that I actually like to use. So if you're dealing with that, I like PP2, Sign 4, and the color mode is S Gamut. And I think if we look down here at detail, detail was -7 in there. And let me just go back. And I think the only other thing I changed was saturation. Let me just check again. No, saturation was on 0. Yep. So that tells you exactly what I was using there. So it's Sign 4, S Gamut. So if I'm shooting in quite challenging conditions, I got confused there because they're in different positions between the two menus. So, and to be honest, like I said, I just don't use them. That's why I had trouble finding them. I just don't use them. I'm basically shooting just standard profile. But if I am in a challenging scenario, that's the one I use, the PP2, and they're the settings that I'll actually use. Let's go back to these questions. No, let me just come back. What lens am I using for the live stream? I'm using the 24 1.8. I'm using the A6500 there. So that's what I'm using here. What else have we got? Shoot in video and S-Log. Yeah, that, and I've just mentioned that a second ago. I don't use S-Log much at all now. I wanted to say thank you very much for your live show. It's been a lot of help. Val, thank you so much. Hope you like pics. That's great that you say that. Jean said, not sure if it's already been mentioned, but did you get a chance to test the resolving power of the 28-75? I used it on the A7R2 and it was fantastic. There was no problem at all. I don't have an A7R3 though, so I can't talk about that. Oreo said the 28-75 is a lens for events, and for that purpose it is perfect. No serious photographer would use that. Yeah, and you're exactly right, Oreo, exactly. For weddings and portraits and events, the 28-75 is perfect. NBW said, what lenses and cameras are you using for your live stream? I've just mentioned A6500 and the 24 to 1.8 Sony lens. I love that lens. Mario said, for better center lens quality, type all over the frame, use full frame lenses, or on crop sensors, agree. Yes, well, because it's cropped in, basically, then you're only dealing with the center part of that. So therefore, that Tamron would be an amazing lens on the A6500. Can I use my Canon 582 flash with my Sony A7 III? I know you can use the Nikon flashes. I haven't used the Canon flashes. I'm not sure if it would trigger it. That's the issue. As long as the flash will work, just as it'll work manual, and I think basically it will just fire, but you'll have no TTL and things like that. But I'm not sure the Canon flashes do work on the Sony. I know that the Nikon ones did that I had. Cody said, Oreo, these 16-35 is great for landscapes. Yes, it is actually. That is one good wide angle that it is. It's an expensive lens though, so you'd hope it would be. Richard said, I've got the 85 1.8. Not sure if I should buy the Tamron or the 55 1.8 for stills. If you have the 85, I wouldn't be buying the 55. I'd get the Tamron because you've got a then much wider lens there. 16-35 is good for video too. Yes, it is. Julian said, what is the computer and the specs of the computer you use to edit? I'm using a Mac Pro. It's the high-end one. I can't remember. It's the 8-core one. It's really expensive, but it's a great camera. Great computer. So it is a Mac Pro, yep. And it was maxed out specs, so it had all the best things that I could put in it. Can you download Play Memories Mobile for Sony in your iPad and control everything from your iPad? Well, you can do that, yes, but I just don't think that you can shoot untethered and then be walking around and then have it appear on your screen. But yes, you can definitely do it on your iPad. ACL said, hey Dave, what would you recommend best low budget landscape lens for the A7 III? If you want to shoot wide, well then some of the Samyang lenses are really good. ACL, I'm not the best person to ask for landscape because I very rarely do it. Remember, I'm a fashion and portrait and wedding photographer. I'm not a landscape photographer, so someone else may be able to chime in there. I can tell you what I use for landscapes, at the moment, and I'm just using the 16 to 35 f4. So that's what I've been using for landscapes, but I'm actually in the market for a wide angle as well. You know, and I'm just not sure yet what I want to use, and I'm still looking, you know, whether it's Loxia or... I just don't know yet, so I'm still looking at what's around. But someone else may be able to chime in about that. Cody Link said, any alternative to ice lights, wounds, these puppies? I know they are expensive, Cody. There are a few that I've seen online. People have posted me, and I can't remember the name of them actually, but there are a few that are online, but I haven't used them, so I can't tell you about how good they are. Ice lights are expensive. Yes, I agree with you. Sometimes though, you do only get what you pay for. But I have seen now there are alternatives out there that you would have to sort of rent or something and try out to see if they're any good. But there's definitely ice lights alternatives out there. I just can't name them, but there are some quite cheap ones now that you can get. I'm just not sure how soft and everything they are as compared to what the ice lights work as. So yeah, I just don't know. But they are dear, yeah, I agree. Almost got here on time. Carol said, if your Canon flash doesn't work on your A7 III, I recommend flashpoint flashes. Yep, there's flashpoints. Godox are also great. There's stacks of them that are cheaper flashes that you can get way cheaper than what the Sony are asking to do. Adam said, do you use USB to get the signal from the camera to the computer for live stream? No, I'm using the the mini studio recorder. That will go in, and it's using HDMI to Firewire. So that's how they work on my computer. So I'm not using USB, no. I'm using the mini studio recorder. If you look them up, it's Ultra Studio Mini Recorder. They're Black Magic, and they're Firewire. Jason said, why does Sony hate vloggers? I'm a Canon user and want to switch to Sony. I know, I don't know why they don't. That's the reason why I bought that RX 100. Jason, I really do wish they would look after vloggers. I agree. It's a pain having to stick a monitor on. I'd love an articulating screen. The RX 100 works fantastic for that. But yeah, I just love a screen that would come around completely sideways, and I really wish they'd do it, and I'm hoping the A6700 has that. I don't think it probably will though. I don't know. I just don't understand why they don't give us that. Oreo said, I meant wide to telezooms. Yeah, and I knew you meant that, Oreo. Curious said, sorry, couldn't make it to yesterday. Hope everyone had a good time there. I think they really did, Curious Potato. They had a ball. Stay tuned for that to be shown on YouTube. Mario said, sorry for the complicated grammar. English is not my first language, or second or third. Well, it's not been too bad. I forgot the second and third. I barely used the first. I'm speechless. Palatine said, there isn't a lot of budget options for wide-angle lenses, it seems. Something in the 18 to 24 range is what I'm looking for. Yeah, it's hard. You can get the 12 to 24, but they're not cheap. The 10 to 18 works quite well, and that's not that expensive. It's only APS-C, so you get it at 12 to 16. But like I said, I use the 16 to 35 f4, and that works for me at this stage. But remember, I'm not really a landscape photographer, but they're good enough for what I'm using, and whether that's good enough for you. My Canon D850 flash works in manual mode. Okay, there you go. So it will work in manual mode. Yeah, well, that's good to know. Adam said Godox makes a night. They did, didn't they? I'm not sure how good it is, Adam, though, but you can only try it and see. You might find that it's actually good enough for what you like. But yeah, well, there you go. So Godox make one. Mavic said, tuning in from Scotland, so that's nice of you to tune in. Mario said, what camera do you or anyone here use for street photography for fun, not work? Well, I'm going to use an RX 100 now. That's what I'm going to be using. I loved it. It works so well for what I used the other day. So that's probably what I'm going to use. Remember, though, the A6500 is a really good camera for street stuff. It's so small. And I would probably take that more than the other cameras. But remember too, even dealing with something like the A9 or the A7 III with the 35 2.8, that's a fantastic street combo. That is a great street combination. So if you're going to use that for street work, you can easily put that in a small bag or something like that if you want to take it around. Putting it on a strap is not going to hurt your neck or back or anything, just carrying that around. So, you know, I would even take that. How do you think the Tamron will take to fix the firmware in the 2870? Well, hopefully not too long. They may be still trying to work out what that problem is, Mavic. So I'm not sure. The one I had, the lens I had no issues at all. So hopefully it'll get fixed soon. But I'm sure if it's not fixed, Tamron will replace those lenses. So, you know, just stay tuned. Carol said, I use my A6500 with a 16 to 70 f4. Love that small form factor. Yep. Just that lens. Yeah, I don't really like that lens much. You'd be better off to get a little bit of a better lens, Carol. But if it works for you and you're happy with it, what a great small combination. Sam said, the Sony A5100, a bit older, but has 21 megapixel rotating screen. Yeah, and I don't know why they've never released it since then. Panda said, if you don't mind, can you let everyone know that I have a low pro bag runner for sale? Yes, so if you did want to contact the Panda, he's got two of them, I think, for sale for $150 plus shipping. He needs the cash. And they were brand new bags, I believe. So if you did want a bag, you could contact the Panda. Ario said, too bad we can't send pictures here. I'd show you the Moretti beer. Oh. Oh, Oreo, I'll be back with drinking beer with you guys soon, honestly. Once it warms up again and we get that time change so it's not so early in the morning. Tim said, check out Thomas Heaton channel. Rarely uses wide angle for his landscape work. And you know what? That's the thing. When I went to New Zealand, the interesting thing is I really do loving a 70, and you're going to laugh, but I love the 70 to 200 for landscapes. I love to be able to bring that foreground and background in. And I think sometimes people do forget that you don't have to shoot landscape all the time at really wide angle lenses. The problem is the more wide you shoot, the more everything flattens out and you just don't get perspective. And that's what I do love about shooting something like a 70 to 200. If you can shoot something like a 70 to 200 and then you have a tree or a person or something and then you have a mountain in the background, it brings that mountain right back in. So it's an interesting way to shoot. So don't ever discount using something like a 55 or a 35 or an 85 or even a 70 to 200 in landscape. You know, so it's actually interesting to say that. So any last questions, guys, before we finish up for the day? It's just about coffee time for me. What is the time? It's 11:04 here. I don't know how long I've been on. How long? Well, how long have I been on? 1 hour, 2 minutes. So I've cracked the hour again. I was going to make this a quick one. I love it. So let me know in the comments down below anyway whether you would be interested in doing like a workshop, say with me and Kiara being involved. And having a paid workshop that would be tailored more for things like off-camera flash and posing and things like that. So let me know if that's something you would be interested in. Obviously, any questions that you'd like answered, leave those down below. And I always do make sure I get back to people because that's also important to me that I do answer every question that comes in. Unless for some reason I miss it, but I try and answer every question. Just let me go down here again. The Panda said he will even go $125 plus shipping if you need those bags. Mario said, please share a few lenses to recommend to Carol for me for street photography and the A6500. I also love the 18 to 105. I love using that lens too on the A6500. But if you wanted to travel real light, 10 to 18 works great. I also love putting things like that on too. Like that's a great, the 35 f2.8 is a great ones on the A6500 as well. And the 24, I love that lens. The one I'm shooting now on the Sony A6500, this one, the 24 f1.8 is my favorite lens that I've got for the APS-C cameras because it gives me that 35 focal length, but it's not cheap, that lens. But that is my favorite lens I can ever put on the A6500. It's beautiful. That lens is stunning. And it gives me that 35 mil focal length, which I adore so Mavic said, I just got my A7 III last week. So far, I have the Sony FE70-300 and the Sony macro. That's a great lens, that macro. You're going to love shooting macro if you like that. 8 a.m. Sunday here. Hope you like pics, so it's nice and early there for you. Mario said, no quickies here, please. Panda just said, thanks. So any last questions before I sign off, guys? Stay tuned. There'll be a few more videos released this week. I have got the studio ones that I want to actually release as well, showing how I did those color gels and all that stuff. They're going to be released this week as well. I have got the video of the behind-the-scenes workshop that I just did yesterday, so I'll be sharing that as well. So there's stacks of stuff that's going to be appearing online. David, you need to try some brown ales for winter time. Yes. Sony, Jack said Sony 55, 1.8, Zeiss or Tamron 28 for the first lens on the Sony A7 III. If it's your first lens and it's all you've got, Jack, I'd probably get the 28-75. But that's what I'd get first of all, and then I'd start buying primes from there. That's probably how I would go. Mario's photos has just popped in as well. Mario, you're going to have to go over this video because we're just about turning off for the day. So yeah, so I'd be getting that probably if you need to start from scratch. I've told you all before that my favourite two lenses, and I could nearly shoot everything, is the 35 1.4 and the 85 Batis. I adore them, but I am really starting to enjoy shooting with the 35 again. But they're the lenses that I really love. But the 28-75 also would be a great lens for shooting events or anything like that if you want that full, you know, range as well. Mario said, I have the 12mm Venus. Lovely. Coming on Monday. Can't wait. You're going to love that. That'll be beautiful. All right, guys. Popping off. Stay tuned for more videos. Any other questions, because I'm logging off now, please leave those down below, because I'd love you to, I'll try and answer them as soon as I can. So I'll catch you all for the next video, guys. Bye for now.